A quick explanation before we start. If I am talking about chords in the progression, I will use Roman numerals. And if I am talking about the notes of the chord or scale tones, I will use Arabic numerals. Hi, and welcome to a new series of music lessons that I'm going to be doing here on YouTube. And today's first lesson is going to be how we can take simple chords and add a little bit of interest to them. Our simple chords, if you know how to build your chords, and that probably is a good thing you should know before you do any of this. If you know how to build the 1, 3, 5 of your scale into a chord, and even how to make the 7th or either the flatted 7th or the major 7th as part of your chord. If you understand that about chords, that's a good start. Because what we're going to be talking about is neighbor tones. The neighbor tones are the tones that aren't 1, 3, 5, or 7, but the 2, 4, and 6 of the scale, and how we can use them in context with making a simple chord progression a little bit more interesting. So let's take a simple chord progression, and we're going to use a C chord, an F chord, and a G chord, which are the 1, 4, and 5 chords of the key of C. So we're going to start with a simple chord progression that goes like this. And you may notice that I've used all root position chords instead of using inversions, which will make it much easier for voice leading. But the reason is because if we use the simple root position chords, it makes it easier to show how this first little exercise using the second step of the scale can easily make your chords sort of open up and be a little bit more interesting. Now if we take the second step of the scale and we play it on the downbeat and move into the third step of the scale afterwards, we get this sort of sound. So pretty simple, but right away you're already making the chord sound a lot different. From this to this. That second step of the scale gives a little pull away from that simple triad sound. So now this particular sound is used by Neil Young in his After the Gold Rush song, and you'll hear that. So there we have 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. And then he goes to his 4 chord because he's in the key of D, he's going to the G. And that is a 3, 2, 1. So he's using the root and the third and the second in those voicings. The next neighbor tone we're going to talk about is the 4th. Now the 4th is very simply, it's the one that gives us that suspended sound that we all like so much. And if we take our voicing, our chord progression that we were using before, and we just add the 4th in different ways, we can either use it as a suspension or as a neighbor tone. If we use it as a neighbor tone, we're going to be playing mostly the 3rd and going up to the 4th for a second like this. If we use it as a suspension, we're going to use the 4th mostly and work our way down to the 3rd at the very end of each measure. So very simply, if we think of it as a suspension, we're doing mostly the 4th and maybe resolving it to the 3rd. Think of it more as a neighbor tone, we're thinking of it more as mostly third, and going up to the fourth is a little added sort of thing every once in a while. Now, this particular chord is very popular with the Rolling Stones. One of their famous songs, we start on a G chord, and we start with a 4-3. And then when we go to the C chord, we do sort of the opposite, 3-4-3. So that's a very simple way to think of it as the 4-3-3-3-3-4-3. And one of their other songs where they use this suspension version, they walk down major chords. So they played, say, a C chord, a B flat chord, an A flat chord, but I don't think that's the right key for what would they do. But they start with a fourth and go to the third on those. Or something like that. They have a tendency to use a lot of 4-3, 4-3. Whoever is playing their chords, I think Keith, I want to say Keith Moon, but it's not Keith Moon. It's the Keith from the Rolling Stones. Keith Richards, that's it. So their guitar player, I think, likes to play that with his open G chord, open G tuning on his guitar. I think he finds that very easy to get this sound out of it. That's a very easy sound to get out of the guitar, and the piano player that plays with them tends to imitate that particular sound. The next neighbor tone we're going to talk about is the sixth step of the scale. If we take our basic chord progression that we were playing before and we add the sixth in, we're going to get this sort of thing. So that just gives us a really sort of happy, feels like a major pentatonic sound. Now, if we take that major pentatonic concept, we can see that we add the 2 and the 6 to our major chord, and we get our basic major pentatonic scale, because the major pentatonic scale is 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. So we can do these simple runs. Here's a C chord with the 2 and the 6 added in. Here's an F chord with its 2 and 6 added in, another C chord, and a G chord with the 2 and the 6 added in. So with our progression, so that's a simple way to look at it. The major pentatonic comes from that particular adding the 2 and the 6 to our 1, 3, 5. There is a very famous song that uses this 6 in its riff. And it's based on a D chord, a C chord, and a G chord, and it goes 6, 5, changes the chord, 6, 5, and then on the G chord it goes 5, 5, 6, 5. So there, everybody pretty much knows what that song is. If you found any of the information in this particular little lesson helpful in any way, shape, or form to your playing, please consider donating a little bit to the tip jar. And thank you very much for watching.